The 9th of August is known as the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. This day was proclaimed by the United Nations to raise awareness on the rights of indigenous peoples since they have become one of the most marginalized groups in the world. In Malaysia, the indigenous people, or the Orang Asal, make up 12% of the population. According to our constitution, they are designated as a privileged group, but in real life, they are Lain-lain, or the others, words often used to describe them even on official forms. So in this episode of Quickiepedia, we will take a brief look at the lives of our fellow Aboriginal Malaysians. There are indigenous communities and settlements on both sides of the South China Sea, on East and West Malaysia. Now, in this first part, let's look at the Orang Asli population in West Malaysia. There are 18 different tribes in this part of the country that make up a relatively small population of just 200,000 people. That's a mere 0.8% of the population. Two-thirds of this community are distributed between Pahang and Perak, while the rest are spread across Kelantan, Terengganu, Selangor and Johor. In modern-day Malaysia, we refer to the indigenous people of Peninsular Malaysia as the Orang Asli. This was the name that the Malaysian government coined in the 1960s. Prior to that, they were often referred to as the Sakai. Truth be told, the origins of this word is not very pleasant. It bears a derogatory meaning that loosely translates to debt slaves. This goes back to the dark history of Malaya. The Malay noblemen of the 18th and 19th century were known to have captured and enslaved the Aboriginal people. It is believed to be the reason for why they settled in the mountainous parts of the country, hidden from the outside world. Based on the linguistics and language of the Orang Asli, anthropologists have opined that they have origins in Myanmar and Cambodia, among other places. They are believed to have migrated to the Malay Peninsula some 3,000 to 8,000 years ago, preceding many of the other races. 40% of the Orang Asli in Peninsular Malaysia today still live in the forest, while the remaining 60% live in townships on the edge of the forest. They rely on hunting, foraging, farming, and the occasional odd jobs to get by. Out of this, only 1%, just 1% of the community have been integrated into urban life and society. According to the Orang Asli Rights, Problems and Solutions report released by Suhakam in 2010, the Orang Asli don't just face difficulty in getting native land titles, they also lag behind when it comes to development. Besides that, they are often denied the right to self-determination and face the risk of losing their own culture and identity. The issues surrounding land are among the biggest problems faced by the Orang Asli community. According to Sahakam, as of 2003, only 15% of the total land area of Orang Asli inhabited places have been gazetted as Orang Asli reserves, and only 0.5% of Orang Asli population had titles to their lands. As a consequence of not being accorded rights to their lands, the Orang Asli communities are often subject to relocation and resettlement to make way for development projects with unfair compensation. Without land to call their own, the community also struggles to build financial wealth. According to data from 2003, 77% of Orang Asli live below the poverty line, raking in a monthly income of 529 ringgit or less. 35% fall under hardcore poverty, with a monthly income of just 265 ringgit or less. Without sovereignty, the Orang Asli are reluctant to cultivate land that they won't be able to secure for a harvest. Without a permanent title to their land, they have no collateral to obtain a loan, neither do they get the basic utilities like water and electricity. Their crude death rate is twice that of any other ethnic group in West Malaysia. Even education is an issue. Only 6% of Orang Asli students successfully complete secondary school. Poverty brings many roadblocks for the Orang Asli. School expenses such as uniforms and stationery amounting to anything between 100 and 150 ringgit is often a sum too big for the Orang Asli parents to cough up, deterring them from enrolling their children in schools. The kids may also need to skip classes just to help the family crop a harvest. The rampant discrimination in schools and bureaucracy comes down hard on the Orang Asli, making it next to impossible for the Orang Asli of Peninsular Malaysia to catch up with the development seen by the rest of the nation. All these are but some of the reasons explaining the high dropout rate of Orang Asli children in schools and why it is so difficult for them to break free of the poverty cycle. Unlike urban Malaysia that functions with an organized system of government, the Orang Asli have a lack of self-determination when it comes to policy making. Take for example the definition of the word development. Who decides that development for the Orang Asli means having to live out of the forest? Who dictates that development for the Orang Asli means having to send their children to school with strangers in a language that is foreign to them, that is miles away from home? There has also been a lack of consistent policy to preserve the language, culture and the wealth of knowledge about the forests of the Orang Asli. With a combined community making up less than 1% of the population, the Orang Asli of Peninsular Malaysia are faced with the erosion of their culture and identity. For the past 3 decades, they have become the target of institutionalized Islamic missionary movements. According to Suhakam reports, the Malaysian Islamic Welfare Organization or PERKIM had recommended in 1980 to Islamize and assimilate the whole Orang Asli community with the Malays. Today, 70% of the Aboriginal population still maintain their customary beliefs, 20% are Muslim and the remaining 10% are Christians. In the next episode, we go across the South China Sea to explore the state of the indigenous people over there.